Good morning, good afternoon. Today's Monday, March 25th, 2019. And we're doing the morning business headline commentary. So, the big news, you know, the in the business news, would be the Apple announcing a ton of new services. Um, I guess like Apple's is like realization that is following the Amazon's footstep of expanding into anything and everything that's relatable. I saw the rather long introduction stream on their website. They have introducing a credit card, credit services under the brand of Apple. Here's the thing: if you lost your phone or you ran out of battery, and you're even more screwed now if you're totally relying on Apple's relatable services. Think about it. Apple iPhones cannot change the batteries like Android phone does. So if your batteries runs out or you lost your iPhone, you could be screwed up your ass like really bad. People can spend your money now, leverage your identity information, and everything. So that's my take on it. Again, they did also introduce other services in the media, streaming music, streaming TV, game services, branching out and almost like competing with other services like Google's YouTube, Amazon's Twitch, all the other banks that like play in the credit card business and credit business. So there you have it. They're branching out into many, many different areas. Very reliant on the iPhone. So again, if you're the people that uses the iPhone for a long time, you know that you're always in memory trouble, running out of memories, or running out of battery. So there you have it. So in my take is eventually you're doing the same stuff, but paying $1,000 at least eventually. The stuff that you're doing right now. So that's an irony about that. The Apple's, judging from its historical behaviors, once it gets traction, they'll probably start raising the prices like they did on iPhone. And they would convince a lot of people that would start paying a little bit more. They can do that. And they said, like, they will protect your privacy as long as they get a copy of everything you do. So there's another irony in that. They promise privacy, but as long as they get a copy of everything you have. I don't know, like, if you believe in that, that's okay, because all they need to do is like crunch the data on it, and they'll slowly and privately, give it out and make more, even more money. You don't believe it, that's fine. And as I explained it previously, that the FaceTime bug was purposely built in. When researchers discovered it, they have to go into negotiations to replace that bug with something else. Um, so Apple is an American company. As you know, American tech companies are screwed so badly now. Only like foreign tech companies have a high value in terms of protecting or standing up to stupid stuff. All right. So you see, like many things are still in the headlines, in developing still, like the trade dispute negotiations and so forth like that. Um, all right, so there's also gearing up with the next presidential campaign. There's a ton of Democratic candidates that don't know what they're doing. Like they're like background in the farmlands, background in the middle of nowhere. At least there's some people that's actually from the city. They know how to handle things, and actually have introduced some good ideas. All right, so I do mention Andrew Yang from Manhattan. So that's not bad, comparatively speaking. So we see how that develops. All right. So let's see how the markets are doing. Relatively calm, within the 50-point range. As I mentioned a couple days ago, HFT 2.0 trying to reintroduce wild gyrations. And I can suspect and make a big bet that regulatory actions has been, hitting it back in terms of watching these wild gyration attempts by HFT 2.0. So we see like many of them have probably had consequences of introducing wild gyrations by HFT 2.0. Either they got regulatory action or they're laying low to avoid regulatory actions. All right, so we do see the inverted yield curve. But as you know, like with new techniques in HFT 2.0 that is transferable to treasury trading, you may not be able to, believe that completely because of HFT 2.0 research in, uh, introducing wild gyrations in instrument trading. So that's a little bit have to take into account in modern monetary policies where HFT 2.0 and maybe in the future research, they're able to affect the markets even more artificially, but not like it used to be there is a regulatory body that affects the market, not the other way around. But it's changing that a little bit by now, unless there's more regulatory actions. All right, relatively calm. Bonds 10-year coming 2.423 for 10-year. Gold hitting up again. That's a reflexive almost, where gold gains safe haven value in worries, just worries of economic gyrations. Oil 58 are still under 60. All right, so there's some gyration in Hang Seng and Nikkei as well. But you see, like, more regulatory oversight that is trying to rein in the gyrations from HFT or relatable techniques. All right, all right. So Boeing trying to cover their assets a little bit. I don't know about you, but in terms of if Boeing was selling cars, a lot of smart guys would take out the stupid sensors when they take the car home. I don't know about you. Like if I was like buying Boeing jets in this model, I would have a specialist or have like people that like know how to modify airplanes would take the whole thing out. So there's no stupid stuff with these sensors that's like claimed to be malfunctioning. Because you take out the sensors, you just disable the whole thing. There's no readings or like faulty readings coming out through that. Basically disabling the damn features altogether physically. All right. So this is a pretty old headline. Okay. So we see like still further developments in trade dispute. So we see the Fed, unprecedented wise, stating that they will not hike for the year. So you see that a little bit. Well, you see, like in actual Fed dual mandate, which it has another implied mandate, which is to avoid recessions, right? And that's what they're doing, avoiding possibilities of recession. If you manage it right with modern techniques and modern knowledge, you can avoid any recession because you know how to avoid it now. So, artificially pushing it into cycling may not be needed. Um, you know, Now you have further knowledge of these like big banks activities because they affect they're too big to fail, right? So you need to give out a lot of information to be a too big to fail. So the Fed and regulators have a lot more control nowadays due to 2008 experiences. So I'm sure eventually they hit on other ideas into further getting details of how these big banks other relatable too big to fail, so they can rein in more immediately when things not looking too good, or like they double triple the fines for repeated offenses, wasting regulatory resources to prosecute like stupid stuff on these big bank employees. Well, you know that a little bit now. Like I mentioned before, they're hiring drug users now into these banks. They have they come in a form of frat brothers. Affirmative actions, recruits. A lot of these stuff, all mixed together now in college. And the thing that you understand is just doing drugs. And, they carry this drug culture with them, a lot of them, into these financial jobs. They know they cannot be doctors because they'd be killing people. So there's a lot less of these guys that go into medical field. So, a lot less consequential careers like financials is where all these like drug users are going into. You see that in the news repeatedly over several years. You see famous financial books talk about drug users and messing the company as well. So you see that in the news more recently now, right? All these big banks, some of them in the news for like fraud activities, things like that. So this is just a bunch of cheaters and drug users they're trying to recruit now. So you see a lot of these like simple stuff like tech companies like food delivery services reaching like a $1 billion evaluation. Here's a stupid irony in that if I chain together several Chinese takeouts or Mexican restaurant takeouts or any other ethnic takeout restaurants, which they already have several takeout employees, I should get a franchise company evaluation of at least $1 billion because it's doing the same shit already. What these like high so-called tech companies doing simple stuff like delivering food. So in the same fair evaluation, if I chain together maybe 100 takeout restaurants, I should get an evaluation for the delivery part of the services. Should evaluate the company as $1 billion. But you won't allow that because this is takeout. But if I create an app, that may change the argument. Similar stuff. Like you rent out a big office space and sublease it to maybe just maybe coders and stuff. And I do that in many different places. I get like a $25 billion evaluation for these subcontracting, subleasing spaces. So you tell me the company that manages the real estate of Empire State Building or World Trade Center Tower should have less company evaluation than some of these so-called tech subleasing companies. So you tell me like they should be worth less than $1 billion. These that manages the real estate of Empire State Buildings or like World Trade Center. So this is like really ironic, ignoring the reality of some stuff. because they technically like has a website or an app that does delivery, food delivery, or they manages subleasing of like office space. So you tell me, if I create an app and chain together several big office towers, or like chain together 100 Chinese food delivery restaurants, I should get at least $1 billion valuation quickly. So if you follow my reasoning, you know what I'm talking about. So these probably like end up like Snap companies, or like things like what's that called? The box camera company. What's that called? GoPro, yeah, and Fitbit. So I think like eventually these companies will be end up like something like that, because you're just ignoring like actual reality or some things. All right, so I explain it a little bit on the headlines today for Monday, March 25th, 2019, when we're doing the morning business headline commentary. So you see like a little bit Apple, Amazon, um, um, Google are slowly entangling and overlapping on many different areas. In gaming, in retail, in TV media related. So anything that's like soft media, software related, they'll be merging and competing very quickly. And I think the emerging and evolving competition between Walmart and Amazon may not be in as focused as this, because these are soft. What I just mentioned, these are soft and very quickly evolving, competing businesses. So there you have it. So it's more to come. It's the big three I can identify right now is Apple, Google, and Amazon, and Microsoft may be evolving as well. They do have the Xbox, and they identify the gaming sector very early. So there you have it. All right, so today's Monday, March 25th, 2019, when we're doing the morning business headline commentary. Something I'll note, I do have Indian followers. India's Modi went for a big hug on Amazon after my dated video featuring Amazon when it was $500 or $600 range. You have followed my commentary, you probably right now triple your money and probably quadruple your money a couple of months ago. Um, so there you have it on that. I do have Chinese business followers. Some of them decided to buy out Germany's robotics firms after I featured these robotics arms building supercars in some of my supercar remix music videos. Some of them listed below. Something also note, I did introduce Goku and Gohan of Dragon Ball in my eating cooking demo videos. Uh, and after showing that, the company called Funimation that owns Dragon Ball became a takeover target. All right, that's some of my three of my many sometimes actionable commentaries. Today's March 25th. So I do see some Easter celebration being hanging up. So that may be turning of the seasons, sign of the seasons. Where spring is coming about, and Easter is coming about. All right, so happy trading already. Monday, March 25th, 2019.